Hey everybody, hope you are doing good. I thought I'd put a little video together just to kind of show you the progress that I'm making in building completely from scratch a community-based website to try and I guess replace the No Code Academy that I've been running for the last couple of years, which I know some of you guys are members of. And what I thought to myself is that because I'm kind of having a bit of a shift in terms of kind of my approach to the community, whereas using the Mighty Networks platform is really, really expensive per month. And I think technology has moved on where we can kind of maybe build out our own community without having that big expense, which is kind of really what I'm looking for. So if any of you have seen any of my previous videos where I had built up, I kind of did like a little 4-part video where I kind of used a kind of windsurf and using, I guess, the very cheap offering with inside Windsurf in terms of being able to vibe code up a community-based application. It kind of created the foundation, I think, to something which I could easily work with. And that was kind of what my intention was to kind of, I did a bit of a video. I kind of wanted to prove that that simply just vibe coding that I could then build out this particular application without kind of cutting any code. And I definitely proved that. And since then, I've kind of gone away and I've been spending quite a bit of time on continuing to do exactly the same thing. And I wanted to kind of get to a point where I've kind of got the bare essentials of this community application in place. And that's kind of where I am today. Now, there's some polish that's needed. There's perhaps some new features that I've needed, but I think I've got the essentials to what I need there. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through kind of what I've done so far. I'm not going to spend too much time in Windsurf or go through kind of the project because this really isn't much different from the video series. It's really just a case of me continuing to use the Cascade agent here to kind of do all the work that I want it to do, and I've been continually iterating on it, and this is kind of what I've kind of come up with. Let me kind of go to this particular screen now. Please, it's not going to win any awards in terms of design because I'm really trying to focus on the functionality at this point, but as you kind of go in there, you'll kind of get a feel to kind of where I'm heading. So I'm just going to sign in now on this particular screen. Just hit sign in. I've already got an account created. And what I'll do is I'll enter this kind of this home page that I've got here where I've kind of broken things down into a couple of different spaces here. I've just got kind of one for announcements and one for discussion. And you can see here I've kind of got this panel here which allows members of the community to kind of provide a donation to kind of pay for the kind of the hosting and all that kind of stuff that sits behind that. Of course, this is all voluntary. Hopefully, members will donate if they get value from the community to then obviously pay for the services that kind of sit underneath it. And then what I've kind of done is on the right hand side here, I kind of got this little kind of leaderboard, I guess, of top supporters of the month. And it's quite a good thing, I guess, just to kind of give some kind of reputational reward back to members who kind of support the community. And then I've got this top helpers this month, and I'll come back to that in just a second because that's something that is a little bit different to the community that I've been running for the last couple of years. So what I'm going to do is I've broken this down. I've got my feed here, which is kind of you sort of go inside that particular screen and you'll get like a continuous stream of community discussion that's going to be in my feed. So this is really just kind of like the home page, I guess, to the feed where you can kind of go in and kind of see what's happening across a number of the different spaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the discussion space. If I just hit the discussion space here, I'm just going to go in now. I'm kind of running this at the moment from a Netlify kind of deployment, so it's not going to be super performant, but it's working out pretty good actually. I'm trying to optimize it as I go along. So here you can see that I'm in this particular kind of discussion space here. I've got a number of test threads that I've kind of created here. Now you can view this in a compact or expanded mode. So I think again that's slightly different to what I had in the current community, where it's nice to kind of see just a really kind of short, sharp list of discussions that are taking place. And of course, at any particular point, I can click on these and go to the thread page itself. So the expanded and compact, I think, is quite a nice view, and you can kind of choose whichever view you like. And this kind of gets persisted in the browser local storage, so when you come back again, then it kind of remembers that. And you can see here I've got the typical kind of thread kind of space here that you can kind of kind of go through. And you've also got these particular panels here, which got all these kind of like, they're not really panels, I guess they're like little pills, they look like, where you can do the typical kind of reaction. So here I've got a couple of reactions here like that. So let me just set that one there. And then you'll see that that will get applied. There is a little bit of a delay going on at the moment with whenever I apply a reaction, it takes a little while to persist that, so I need to kind of look at that. But yeah, so that's pretty good. And then of course I've got the little comment section here, so I click on that, and you can see here that I've got a couple of comments. And of course, you can kind of react on these. Just hit the little plus and come down here, and I can put a little smiley face on that. But again, you can see there's that kind of little delay, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there behind the scenes, but I'll certainly investigate that. And of course, I can reply to sort of threads as well. So here you can see that this is a reply that I've already got, or I can add another one in. Add a new comment, something like that, and just hit post comment, and then that will kind of go up. And again, I can then react to my own one if I really wanted to, or of course I could then reply to that as well. So again, test reply like that. I just hit post reply, and then that gets then persisted and gets shown. So I think this is kind of working, quite well. And of course, you can delete any of these particular comments that you kind of add in there like that. Yeah, I think that's kind of working quite well. Now, what's quite useful about this is that, and I'll show you this in just a second, where, in fact, let me hold that back. I'm just going to hold the thought a second. Let's not distract a little bit about what I'm trying to demonstrate here. So let's go to then the view thread. So if I go here and I click on view thread, this will take me to the kind of like the main kind of page here, which kind of allows me to kind of see the thread in a little bit more of a view. And you can see here down the right hand side, I've kind of got the kind of like the comments and stuff like that, which is looking pretty good. I've also got the text stack here. So what's really great about this is when you create a thread itself, if I go back here and create a new thread up here, this will take me to a screen which allows me to fill in the details. I've got the kind of the title, the body. I need to make this a little bit bigger actually. And then up that top here, you've got these kind of technologies. So what I'm going to kind of do is I'm going to kind of load these up with kind of technologies that perhaps you are using out there, of course. And then you can then associate those technologies with an actual thread. And what's really good about that is that, of course, it helps users kind of see exactly what you're kind of using in the background. And I'm also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to then put improvements in the community where I can then tailor kind of content back to you based on the type of interest that you have on those technologies. And of course, you can choose up to 5 in amongst this as well. So I can just choose these in here. I just made them up for now, and there they go. I can also add a YouTube video in there as well. So if that's something you like, and you can paste in the YouTube URL, and then you kind of get like an embedded player into the actual thread itself. And of course, you can also drag and drop images into the post as well. And simply hitting create thread means that the thread gets created. I'm just going to go back here. I'm not going to too worry much about that. If I hit back here, and let's go back into the view thread here. So you can see I've kind of got these kind of comments and stuff like that. I've just noticed I've got a little feature here that I can't see that I did actually have, and it seems to have disappeared, but I'm going to check that out in just a second. But of course, you can carry on having the conversation here, and of course, they would then be included. You can also kind of upload images as well. So this is quite handy, of course, if you are trying to get a solution to a problem, you can upload 1 or more images as a part of your comment. Actually, I think you might only be able to upload 1 image per comment, but if you are creating a post, then you can create many yourself. And just by clicking on that, you'll get a very horrible looking picture of me there, which I'm going to close down quite quickly. But yeah, you can see you can associate sort of pictures along here with your thread. Now, one other thing that I've done here as well is you can also bookmark threads as well. That's quite handy. So if you do like something that you want to make sure that forms part of a collection, you can hit this little option up here to bookmark it. And here you can kind of create your own brand new collection, or you can choose a collection yourself. So I could just say, it's into my favorites like that. And then that will then get bookmarked. Hopefully it should update with a green. There it goes here. So that will represent always a bookmark thread. So that's pretty good. You can go up here and go up to your collections, and then you can always then come back to those thread in the future. But of course, you can then delete those or unbookmark them here, and just clicking on that will take you through back to the view thread page. So I'll go back to discussion. So that's pretty cool. That works really, really well. And then on the right hand side here, you can see I've got sort of topics that's trending in this space. So of course, as people sort of engage in posts, they click on them, they react, they put comments on there and stuff like that, then that kind of all go into this kind of trending. And then I kind of got this like background routine, which I can fire off manually at the moment, but it's like a Supabase function that kind of would then take all of that into account, and then it will then sort of create this list of trending topics, and they will be updated all the time. I kind of have some kind of like cron job or some kind of scheduled task that will run perhaps every hour that will kind of fresh that. So that just kind of keeps the community a little bit more engaged in kind of what users are engaging with based on kind of what happens and all that kind of stuff. So there's a little bit more improvements I need to make to that, but I think that's that works quite well. And of course you can click on any of these and it can take you directly to that thread here, and you can then engage. So one thing which is pretty smart, which I really love about this, and this is something again which is not in my existing community, which is the bit that I thought wasn't there, but I've just seen it, is this option to mark as an answer. So what you can do at any particular point is you can actually mark this as a solution. So if somebody in the community is answered back to you and that is the perfect answer, you can then mark it as an answer. Now I'm just going to mark this one here, this test comment. Now if I go back, you can see here I've kind of got this accepted here, and you can see I've got kind of 10 reputational kind of points earned for this answer. So that's quite a bit of kudos back to the members who are there to support in the community, and they'll then enter that leaderboard that I showed you on the homepage, and we'll see that in just a second. Now if I go back here, what's really smart about this is in this particular view you can see that when a community post actually has a kind of a marked as an answer, then that's kind of what gets displayed right off the back. None of the other comments are displayed, they're kind of hidden, but if you want to see those you can just select that. You can see the accepted answers at the top, and then of course the comments are then at the bottom, and of course you can mark any of these other ones as an answer. Then you see that this is just another user account here, even though it looks like me, it's just a test user account, and of course I can then mark this as the answer instead of that one, and then it will get replaced, and you'll see that in just a second. Again, there's this kind of like delay here that's going on, but I definitely need to kind of have a look at that and see what's going on. But you can see here, that's pretty smart, and then that now becomes the marked answer. Now, of course, everything behind the scenes is happening. I would have been deducted those 10 reputational points because the answer has now been accepted as by somebody else. So all of that is happening behind the scenes. If I go back to the Spaces screen and have a look there, you'll see that as always in demos, the top helpers of the month are not being displayed, which is a bit frustrating because that's what should happen in a demo. But trust me, that was working earlier as always. But yeah, in the demo it doesn't. So just to kind of demonstrate the kind of the Stripe integration as well, I've got that in place. So if I just kind of, let's say I'm going to donate £10 here. Let's hit donate now. You'll see this will take me off to Stripe, which is, again, this is just my test, my sandbox Stripe account here. And I'm just going to fill these details in. Now, here we go, 42424242 like that. Let's put this in 12, 27, 123, and I'm just going to put Stephen like that, and just hit the pay. And you'll see that community donation will get paid. I'll come back to this thank you screen again. Needs a little bit of tidying up, but I can return back home. And you'll see here now that I've now got an additional donation in there. You see now I'm up to £15 now and got 2 donations. One thing you've probably also noticed is you've got the little green circle here, which is representing myself being online. So I've kind of got this like presence system in here, which I've not really fully tested. It seems to be working okay in that all the time that I'm using the application, you can see that I've got this kind of got little green symbol. So that's quite, again, something that was in the Mighty Networks community, which I've implemented here, which I think is quite a good thing. So you can kind of see who's online, which is pretty smart. And what else have I got here? Let's have a look. Let's go back up here. So all of my notifications are up here as well. So this is pretty smart. Now I can kind of demonstrate this to you. So I'm just going to move over to another window here, which is another user. This is this other user. And I'm just going to go into the discussions. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's find, this is my post here. So I'm just going to react to this particular post. Let's put a little clap on there. And if I now head back now, once that appears, like I said, it's a bit slow for whatever reason. Let's go back here. We should gradually see that the notification appears. Now, there's a little bit of a refreshing thing going on here where I'm not kind of seeing the little notification icon. If I just select that, you will see though that I've actually got that reaction, which is pretty smart. Now, this is also a progressive web app as well, which is quite important to me because this is not going to have a like a native mobile application, which is what the Mighty Network system provides. But we don't need to have a native application because a progressive web app works really, really well. And that's one fantastic thing about building this solution from scratch, is that right off the bat, I wanted it to continually build a nice looking mobile application. And that's exactly what it's done, which works really, really well. So what will happen here is that you'll get a notification on your mobile device that user has reacted. And of course, at any point you can go in here and you can go into your profile, and you'll be able to then manage those notifications here. So you can actually turn certain notifications off here. So you can feel free to do that. And of course, they'll just then appear up the top there. So if you certainly are using that on mobile, that is definitely one thing that is going to be really important to do, is to ensure that you're just getting the notifications that you are most happy with. I've also kind of tracking this reputational points here as well. So you can kind of see that in your profile. And I've got a little bit of a bio as well, where you can describe a little bit about yourself. And I've also got the ability to toggle the dark mode and light mode, so that's pretty smart. And you can also upload kind of avatars here as well, so I can hit change here. I can then, I don't know, let's go and find one here. Let's move into let's go into my projects. Let me go into my assets, and let's go into photos. Have I got one here? No, that is the place I was just at. If you go to my downloads, I think I've got one in there. There I am. So let's just select that, open that one there. And of course, I've got the kind of the zoom in here. You can do all this kind of magic, hit save avatar. That will be uploaded, and you can kind of, you can then customize something for your own liking. So there it goes. So avatars are all stored on Supabase storage. It will, although hoping this is taking a little bit longer than I expected, but it will crop that image, and it will maintain that the file size of that is maintained at a fairly reasonable level on the server, because with Supabase you don't get oodles amounts of storage for your money, but enough to get by. But of course, if this community become really, really popular, then of course it will build up. I don't quite know what's happening here. It's not saving, but yeah, as always in demos, it never works. So I'll just cancel that. Can I cancel that here? So let me just let's just go back out here. It's probably gone to ruin my profile image now. There you go. I'll take a look at that, but it was definitely working earlier. So that's all good. So that is that. Let's move into the My Feed section here. Again, I've got like a little loading kind of shimmer there that's happening, and you can see here that I've kind of got all of these loaded. I can sort of compact and expand. Got the global trending option up here as well. I want to add in sort of featured posts and stuff like that, posts that I think are really, really interesting. It would be really, really good to put a panel there that kind of shows that, I think, which should be pretty smart. But yeah, I think the only other bit of feature I want to show you is DMs. Now, this is something I'm working on. I've not spent massive amount of time here, but I can show you this. So here I am here as myself, and I've got this kind of little option up here. Now, if I move out to the other window here, which is a different user, I can go to, and I've only got this on the My Feed page at the moment. If I hover over me as a user, so if I just select this, I did have it as hover, actually. I remember I just changed it to select, and I can hit on this little chat option. If I hit that, then the little chat window will open up here, and of course there's no messages between us now, so I can say hello Steve like that and hit send. And then if I now not gonna work, come on now, this is working fine. Hello Steve, let me just try that again. What has happened? As always. Okay, there it is there. So it might be a little refreshing there. It might be a little refreshing issue that I've got there. If I just go back out here, you can see now the little notification has worked up. I've got two. So if I just select that, and here is the direct messages here, test user. I can open up that And there's those two there. Let's try working this back. Hello, test user like that. Hit send. There it is. That seems to have worked that time. Maybe there's a refresh problem. Now this should be happening in real time actually, and I'm not seeing that happening. But if I go back here, you can see I've got that notification, and there is me, and there I've got that. So I wonder whether there's a little refresh here that's going on. Okay, so let's go back in here. Let's bring that chat panel back up. I just refreshed it. There I am. Let's go back here. Okay, hit send. There it is. If I go back, there it is. So I think there was some little sort of issue that was going on there. But you can see that we can at least exchange messages. And of course, I can delete these messages as well. And I've got a little bit of safety net there, is that it will only delete the messages that you see on your screen. It doesn't delete the overall conversation, because we wouldn't want that to happen, because there could be messages that's been exchanged which would really be useful to the other user. But that all works pretty smart. But yeah, a little bit more polishing that's required there, but I think that's coming on quite nicely. So I think that's probably it for the kind of the general walkthrough. Of course, the more and more threads here, it kind of lazy loads them as well. And I've got the same thing happening on the messages and the notifications. When there's lots of them, they can lazy load. On here, my notifications up here, you can see here that I've kind of commented on threads and stuff like that. And I can mark all as red, or I can actually clear all these things down like that. And then they disappear. So that is pretty well much it, I think, for the application as a little walkthrough. I don't really have anything else feature-wise that I can show you. So as you can see, it's coming on pretty well. I mean, I would say that, I created my initial set of videos that kind of gave me the bare essentials over a couple of hours. If I go back to Windsurf, just to kind of give you a little bit of visual of what's going on here. So if I actually look at my Git commits, you can see here that there's been loads of commits that's kind of happening here, and I've kind of done it on iterations, and I've kind of created branches. So as I've implemented kind of different kind of sort of phases and stuff like that, I've kind of like created a new branch up here. I've gone up here, I've gone to branch, I've gone to create a branch, I've typed in that this is now phase 22 or something like that. I then carried on making all those changes, and once I was happy, then I would then merge that branch back into develop, and I would then just carry on and then create another branch off of develop. So I've always got an opportunity where if things don't work out for me, I can bin that branch and then just carry on. So lots of lots of commits and stuff like that. But in terms of how I've approached this from using Cascade, is that now I'm a kind of like a basic user of Cascade in as far as I've just subscribed to their basic plan. And of course, with that, you get kind of like 500. If I show you here, you get a number of different, you get about 500 credits. Now, I did actually have another 600 credits that I had on top of that as well, that I had paid for at some point. And I pretty well much used up all of those credits in building this application. Now, I would say about perhaps probably within about maybe 5 or 6 hours worth of development, I kind of used up everything that I had there. Now, what I noticed was that I thought, well, I was using Claude Sonnet 4.5, and what I did was I noticed that in Windsurf you can use GPT 5.1 low reasoning for free. So what I did was I just stopped. I swapped over to that language model, and I just carried on. I didn't have too many issues with GPT 5.1. It didn't do anything too different from Claude. I didn't notice too much different in the quality of the output. Sometimes I had to retry. I had a couple of glitches where I had to kind of retry the request. I didn't kind of have that with Claude Sonnet 4.5. But for free, it was fantastic. And so that saved me a little bit of money. And you can see here that when I look to go for a renewal, this will be in 16 days time. So I'll be quite happy just to carry on using ChatGPT here, or GPT 5.1 here, to carry on building out this application. So really, really happy with that. So hopefully that's gave you a little bit of insight to the progress that I'm making here. I'm carrying on working on this. I do want to get this to a state where it's at least of a half reasonable quality, because once I commit to community members using this, then I'm almost committed myself there to ensure that, you know, I don't break something along the way. So so I appreciate the support in the Academy as well, in terms of kind of beta testing this. I think I really do appreciate that, and I'll certainly be reaching out to anybody, but it depends where you watch this. Please do reach out to me in the comments if you fancy being a beta tester in the community, where we can kind of give it a bit of a whirl. Then once we're all happy with it, then we can roll out a little bit more seriously, and then I can then carry on iterating on it after that as well. So so hopefully that was useful. Hopefully you've seen a bit of an update, and I'll see you in the next video.